Travel teaches you two things. First, you never need as much as you think. And second, most travel problems aren't solved by packing more, but by packing different. Hey, Johannes from GearUpYourLife here, and today I'm showing you 13 travel items I stopped packing and exactly what I bring instead. This isn't about minimalism, and it's definitely not about telling you how you should travel. Everyone travels differently, different trips, different priorities. But after years on the road, I'm very confident that at least one of these swaps will make your next trip easier. Let's start with the first one. The first thing I usually don't pack anymore is a normal day pack, or more specifically, I try not to use my personal item bag as my day pack, because once you do that, you're stuck. Your bag is either too big, half empty, or annoying to carry all day, especially in cities, on hikes, or beach days. Instead, I much prefer packing a foldable day pack. It takes up almost no space, lives inside my carry-on or sling, and only comes out when I actually need it, for groceries, city days, short hikes, or beach trips. There are a lot of good options here. The Cedar Summit Ultra Seal Day Pack is a solid, slightly smaller choice that packs down incredibly tiny, and is perfect if you really want to save space. Matador makes great premium versions too, but my personal favorite is still the Osprey Ultralight Stuffed Day Pack, simply because it feels a bit more comfortable on the shoulders, is slightly more structured, and just works better for longer days when you actually carry stuff. And quick side note, I also picked up a new TomTok Foldable Daypack recently. It's still foldable, but a bit more robust, and I think it's a really nice middle ground. Overall, I genuinely think foldable Daypacks just make more sense for carry-on travel. They pack smaller than regular backpacks, but once unfolded, they give you more than enough space for everything you actually need. So for our next gadget, we're staying in the safe space category, because one thing I don't do anymore is travel without any kind of extra packable bag. No matter how minimal you travel, at some point, you'll need extra space. Groceries, souvenirs, jackets, beach stuff, laundry, something always adds up. That's why I always pack some form of foldable backup bag. You've got a few good options here. It can be something ultra minimal, like a nano bag or a foldable tote from Orbit Key, perfect for shopping, quick errands, or city days, or you go a step bigger with a proper foldable tote or duffel if you know you'll bring stuff back. The point isn't which one you choose, and the point is that you choose something. And even if you don't want an extra tote or shopping bag, packing a foldable day pack like the ones we talked about earlier already solves most of these problems. Carry-on travel works best when you plan for flexibility. Not having any backup space at all is one of those mistakes you only make once. The next thing I don't travel with anymore is multiple charging cables or a clunky charging setup in general. Over the years, one of the most important upgrades I've made while traveling is a simple, solid, and reliable charging setup, because nothing kills your mood faster than dead devices and cable chaos. Instead of carrying 3 or 4 different chargers and cables, I now use a 3-in-1 charging station. Mine is still from ESR, but there are honestly a lot of great brands out there. The point isn't the brand, it's having one setup that charges your phone, earbuds, and watch at the same time from a single outlet. On top of that, I always pack one high quality cable, either a good 3-in-1 cable or a super durable one, because having a cable break mid-trip and running through random stores trying to find a replacement is one of the most annoying travel problems ever. And if you're traveling internationally, I pair that setup with a universal travel adapter. Not fancy, just reliable. Fewer cables, fewer points of failure, less stress. This is one of those upgrades that makes traveling feel smoother every single day. For our next thing, we're moving from tech to clothing, and this is a lesson I learned the hard way. If you ever feel like you need to pack a second jacket, try not to bring a bulky heavy one, especially one that isn't even waterproof. That's exactly what I stopped doing. For me, a packable rain jacket is the perfect second jacket for most situations. It's lightweight, folds down small, and covers way more use cases than a normal jacket ever could. You get rain protection, wind protection, and when it's colder, you can simply layer it over a hoodie or fleece. City trips, hikes, changing weather, long travel days, it just works. My personal favorite has always been Outdoor Research. I've used their jackets for years and they've saved me more times than I can count. But I also know that many of you aren't the biggest fans of that brand or just don't want to spend that much. That's why I often recommend Outdoor Ventures as an alternative. It costs around $35, packs down small, is properly waterproof, and honestly offers great value for the price. The next thing I stopped traveling with are full-size liquids. And honestly, this used to be a real problem. My girlfriend actually tried traveling with those huge shampoo and hair wash bottles a couple of years ago, kind you'd normally keep in your shower at home. And yeah, they basically exploded every bag they touched. But even normal, smaller shower gels or shampoo bottles are often still way too big and unnecessary, especially if you're traveling light. What I do now is keep everything travel size and flexible. For solid products, I really like the Matador Flat Pack soap bar case. It's lightweight, waterproof, and the best part is that you can roll it down as the soap gets smaller, so it takes up less and less space over time. For liquids, I usually go with silicone travel bottles, either from Gravel or even the simple $8 Amazon sets, which are honestly already very good. They don't leak, they're easy to refill, and they take up a fraction of the space compared to full-size bottles. The key takeaway here is simple. With very little effort, you save a surprising amount of space and avoid avoid turning your bag into a liquid disaster. For our next one, we're staying with toiletries, and this one is more of a personal preference, maybe even a slightly advanced tip, but it made a real difference for how I travel. I stopped traveling with just one toiletry bag. Instead of only having a hanging toiletry bag in my carry-on or luggage, I always bring an extra clear toiletry pouch in my personal item bag. The reason is simple: access. On long flights, I don't want to open my entire bag just to grab toothpaste, deodorant, or skincare. And when you're traveling for many days with short hotel stays or quick layovers, having everything you need right there in your personal item saves so much time and stress. Brushing your teeth during a layover, freshening up before landing, quick skincare on an overnight flight, all without unpacking half your setup. For this, I usually recommend either the Gravel TSA approved clear toiletry pouch, which costs around $15, or what I'm personally using right now, the clear pouch from the Tripped toiletry set. That set also includes a hanging toiletry bag and an extra organizer, and at around $45, I actually think it's a fair price for a complete setup. Again, this isn't something everyone needs, but for me personally, separating toiletries like this made traveling noticeably easier and smoother, especially on long travel days. So next, we have something I stopped doing a long time ago, and replaced with something that's more sustainable, cheaper, and honestly way smarter. I used to be that guy who went to street markets with my girlfriend, bought way too much food, and then had to throw half of it away, or even worse, staying in an Airbnb and ending up with leftover yogurt, fruit, or snacks that you don't want to waste, but also can't really pack. And then there are those moments before a hike or a long drive where you want to take food with you, but you simply don't have anything to put it in. That's why I always travel with some form of food storage now. It can be as simple as collapsible Tupperware, around $10 on Amazon, and great value for the money. If you want something more premium, Stasher silicone bags are more expensive, but the quality really shows. And another great option is a small collapsible bowl like the Fozzles one, which folds down super flat, and combined with a bit of foil, you can easily close it on top. No matter which option you choose, I genuinely think bringing some kind of food storage is worth considering. It saves money, reduces waste, and makes travel days, hikes, and Airbnb stays way easier. So the next thing I don't do anymore is extreme minimalism, or listening to what I call the weight police. When I first started traveling, I had way too much stuff. Sometimes I traveled for 2 weeks with checked luggage and 2 carry-ons, which makes absolutely no sense looking back. Then, during my time in Thailand, I went completely in the other direction. I cut everything down to the absolute minimum. And yes, it was simple, but it wasn't fun. Packing started to stress me out. I constantly questioned every single item, and instead of enjoying the freedom of traveling lighter, felt restricted, like I wasn't allowed to enjoy my own routines anymore. That's when I realized something important. Not everything has to be an essential to be worth packing. I started bringing a few things that I genuinely wanted to have with me, not because I needed them, but because they made travel more enjoyable and my days more routine friendly. For me, that's a simple coffee setup, an AeroPress, a collapsible kettle, and sometimes even a collapsible coffee mug. None of these are must-haves. They make my mornings better, and that alone makes travel easier for me. And I really believe everyone has items like that, things that might not make sense to others, but make your travel experience better. So I'm curious, what's that one non-essential essential you always bring with you? Let me know in the comments. So the next thing I stopped doing is packing way too many clothes. For a long time I traveled with way more t-shirts, underwear, and layers than I actually needed. Not because it made sense, but because it felt safer. The problem was always the same: a full bag, unnecessary weight, and way too much time wasted looking for laundromats, especially in Europe, where you easily pay $10 just to wash a few items, which never felt worth it. What really changed this for me came down to 2 things. First, merino clothing. Not just t-shirts, also base layers and even underwear. Merino doesn't smell like regular cotton even after multiple wears. I can wear the same shirt or base layer for several days, and that alone allows me to pack far less. Second, a simple washing setup, nothing fancy, just a sink stopper, detergent sheets, and a lightweight clothesline. That's enough to wash clothes anywhere in 10 to 15 minutes without hunting for a washing shop or paying extra. Since switching to this system, I pack fewer clothes, save space, save money, and travel way more relaxed. It's not about owning less, it's about bringing clothes that actually work for travel. The 10th thing I don't travel with anymore is a classic standard travel pillow. And I know that sounds weird because you've seen me talk about travel pillows a dozen times, but the truth is, those standard U-shaped pillows are just too bulky for carry-on travel. The only classic ones I still think make sense are inflatable pillows. They're lighter and way easier to pack. But what I personally started doing is something even simpler. If I don't have my TRTL pillow with me, which in my opinion is still the best option for longer flights because it actually supports your neck, I just use foldable gear instead. A packable rain jacket, a foldable Daypack, or even a hoodie rolled up properly works surprisingly well as a pillow. For short flights, buses, or trains, that's honestly more than enough. But for longer flights, I'd still say the TRTL is worth the roughly $45, even though, yes, it's painful money for a pillow. So if you want the best comfort, TRTL. If you want to stay light, use what you already packed. The next thing I stopped traveling with is a bulky standard travel wallet, the kind you see everywhere. You know the ones I mean. Big, thick, packed with 15 cards you never use, coins you don't need, and somehow always uncomfortable in your pocket. I tried those classic travel wallets for a long time, and honestly, they're just too much for how I actually travel. They take up space, feel bulky in shorts or slim pants, and make something simple feel complicated. What I switched to instead is a minimalist wallet. wallet. Something that holds just the essentials. A few cards, some cash, maybe your ID, and that's it. For me, this made traveling way easier. Less bulk in my pocket, faster access at airports, and way less stress every time I sit down, walk, or move through a city. You don't need a huge wallet to travel well, you just need one that does its job and then gets out of the way. And once you switch to a minimalist setup, it's really hard to go back. The next thing I don't travel with anymore is old, bulky power banks. And yes, this one's more obvious, which is why it's coming later in the list. With airline rules getting stricter, I really started paying attention to which power bank I bring, not just capacity, but how I actually use it. Right now, the one you see here is the Anker Mago, and this is very important to say clearly. This one is mainly for iPhone users. It charges via MagSafe wirelessly, which is perfect on travel days when you just want to snap it on and keep moving. And it also has one USB-C option, so you're not completely locked into wireless charging. It's around $50, which isn't cheap, but for Apple users, it's reliable, flight safe, and just works without thinking. If you travel with Android or need to charge multiple devices at once, this wouldn't be my first pick, but for iPhone carry-on travel, it's a clean, modern upgrade over old, slow power banks. Last but not least, we talk about bulky shoes. Packing shoes without any protection is something I just don't do anymore. I'm someone who almost always travels with 2 pairs of shoes, usually one for running and one for city days. And once you do that, you realize how fast shoes can ruin your whole packing setup. They're dirty, bulky, and somehow always end up touching the one clean t-shirt you really didn't want them to touch. That's why I honestly recommend using a shoe pouch if you travel with more than one pair. Something simple like this one from Mossio works perfectly. Lightweight, breathable, and cheap. Nothing fancy, but it keeps your bag clean and organized. And if you really don't want to buy anything, yes, a plastic bag works too. It's not pretty, but it does the job. For me, this is one of those small habits that makes carry-on travel way less annoying, especially if you run, hike, or just don't want your clothes to smell like sneakers. Alright guys, that's it for today. If you want to watch another travel gadgets video that YouTube picked especially for you, just click here on the left. And if you're not subscribed yet, you can do that right here on the right, especially if you're new around here. Quick reminder for everyone, don't forget to check out the free newsletter in the description. That's where I share all the extra gear, guides, and real travel stuff that doesn't always fit into a video. Have a great weekend, and as always, safe travels.